advance?
So basically, in terms of when we justify the when we see just the financial benefit in terms of, let's suppose, NPV or the IRR terms of investments, so maybe they might not be that encouraging or exciting to the executive or the investors. But when we see the let's suppose, when we see the opportunity cost of what I am putting it in somewhere else, or when we see the kind of engagement that I'm getting with the customers, and that's going to be building up to my increase of market share or demand in the whole market, and that would bring me more what you say, value from the customer. So that is what's the economic aspect of what I'm trying to establish. And then the other part is the financial, the whole number game, which might not be that exciting, but then the economic angle is very exciting in that play. That's what I meant. I mean, if that does make sense.
Got it. Yeah. So from what I understand, the economic aspect for you is more like a sort of a day-to-day level of margins, profits, etc. you're making, and essentially the financial aspect is more like a well-rounded returns that investors, etc. make, and the relatability between both of them. So that's a great question, actually. So I think, Himanshu, let me again pose a situation where I think yes, it happened to us, and very interestingly, quite early on in our journey. So there's this I think very senior VC investor, and I met that person in Delhi, and I think during that conversation itself, the question that was asked was that what is the reason that you guys believe that you will do well and the others won't, right? That was essentially the question. Essentially, in the startup language, we put it as right to win. I mean, what is your right to win over anyone else? I think that's a very tricky one, because what you pose as your right to win really needs to reflect in your story right now or even 2-3 years later. And that becomes a thing that the entire ecosystem starts to recognize. Everyone will now say that, okay, this company claims that this is the right to win, and everyone is talking about it. And they'll actually, the first thing they will do when they meet you is actually think that, okay, they claim this to be the right to win. Is it really the right to win? So I hope you realize that how much responsibility is on, if anyone here is a founder, for you kind of relate to the fact that what I'm saying really has to be my strength. If I actually end up saying that, I am a brilliant, I'm a financial wizard, and I know how, returns are generated and calculated, and then tomorrow you'll find life is going to be very difficult for you, because you'll constantly be judged on that yardstick. So let's be very authentic. In again, startup business, anything, authenticity, honesty is very highly underrated, underscored, extremely important. So Himanshu, coming to your point, right? So how to make these two relate? This is where the storytelling comes into picture, and supposedly storytelling is not only important for private investors, but it works in the public equity market as well, because you have to realize that what is really an equity investor looking for is betting on the future cash flows of the company. How does the future cash flow of the company get better? He's not going to do anything. The entrepreneur has to go ahead, and the team has to go ahead and literally say that, okay, I am going to devise plans, I am going to devise models which will make the future cash flow exponentially high. Right now, in the mind of investors, there are these two branches that get created here. Either it's a GPD 4.0. It's impossible to actually estimate the amount of returns that might come out from it, right? So as you saw, when Zuck bought WhatsApp at $19 billion, it had zero revenue. So that engagement was so valuable that it someday will cause that future cash flow to happen. So that is, you have to realize at some point, and this is, I don't know how to call this, it's a very beautiful part of this, startup game. You're very early, then your valuation is slightly non-quantifiable, or you're extremely disruptive and your valuation again becomes a bit non-quantifiable, right? For the other mere mortals in between, including me, what happens there is, Himanshu, that people are really investing on the fact that, okay, what are you doing now? If that model now reflects some amount of discipline, frugality, and and does it reflect that the entrepreneur has taken the not the easiest path, but actually the most I don't know, like a path which suits his or her DNA. You know, have they been true? And they'll actually check that. Right? For example, if you're saying this is my strength, what have you done in the last 2 years to prove that that is your strength? What matters is only one thing, and what you're saying right there, does it correlate to a vision which is going to happen 2 3 years later, and you yourself are confident about it, and the investor on the other end believes that actually that will generate returns. That is one. And second, past also. People think past doesn't matter. Past matters a lot. Past, what you have to say is that last 2 years, 3 years, I've built my company. These are the things I've done, and this I've done because it is very sensible. No, this is my strength. I've done this, and I compared myself to the other incumbent competition. I went to customers. I understood it. So always we focus very much on the past, also saying that अच्छा 2 साल मैंने ये बनाया, but मैंने ये बनाया ऐसे सोच के बनाया. कोई template तो है नहीं. ठीक है. There's no template. That's the beauty of a startup. No template. And the ambiguity is what causes us to be so difficult. And then future onward, this is what I want to build. This is how I see my vision evolving. And this is and the mature thing to do. I think I should have done this in my earlier days. I couldn't. Is the IRR concept that you said, right? From your understanding as an entrepreneur, in the next 5 years, I think that my model is going to evolve in so and so way. Only top three metrics, revenues, margins, and net profit are going to increase to this capacity. In the public markets right now, or in the US right now, competitors at a similar sort of a net profit are generating this sort of a multiple from a valuation point of view. And if you are able to, Himanshu, relate that valuation to also some amount of future cash flow, you can read about discounted cash flow method, which Mr. Warren Buffett uses often in his calculations. So if you can say that why you believe that that particular net profit 5 years later is going to be equal to the cash flow that the company is going to generate 15 years after that, right? So these conversations show that you're mature. These conversations show that you understand how the world works.